Narwhals are mysterious creatures that live in the Arctic and subarctic regions, and they prefer to stay in deep waters. Narwhals are extremely elusive and therefore difficult to study. Not only do they hide very deep, they can also quickly escape from motorboats and helicopters. No wonder narwhals are considered possibly the worst study animal in the world. And the less studied the animals are, the more mysteries surround them. Though we should be grateful to the Inuit, who've had narwhals on their menu for millennia. Only thanks to them have scientists been able to uncover a little more information. So what exactly are we talking about? Narwhals pierce orcas with their tusks. This happens very rarely because narwhals are actually very shy animals which prefer to swim away from the conflict and hide deep or in shallow waters where orcas can't get them. But if there isn't any opportunity to do that, or if the narwhal is provoked, it'll defend itself by any available means. And there aren't many of them. The tusks of narwhals are quite a mystery. For a long time, scientists had no clue why narwhals need them in the first place. Some researchers suggest that narwhals can use their tusks to break through the sea ice. Others believe that narwhals evolved tusks as a defense against predators. But if narwhals barely use their tusks as spears, does such an evolutionary adaptation make any sense? Actually, the narwhal tusk is one of the most unique structures in nature because it's not curved like the horns or tusks of other animals. Instead, it sort of forms in a spiral, which makes the tusk not only strong but also flexible. Yes, this thing can really flex at least 1 foot in any direction without breaking. This unusual feature allows the narwhal to use its tusk when moving through icy water. It can penetrate small cracks and crevices before it gets trapped under a thick layer of ice. Still, I doubt that narwhals can fence using their tusks. After all, they're not swordfish, which can be described as one of the most impressive and powerful fish living in the ocean. The maximum recorded length of a swordfish is 15 feet with a weight of 1,433 pounds. Yes, this is a huge fish that also has few natural predators. Orcas and mako sharks are the creatures who dare hunt swordfish, but even when faced with such opponents, swordfish don't give up without a fight. Researchers constantly find dead or dying mako sharks with broken swords stuck in their bodies. Swordfish are always ready to fight for their lives. But is it always self-defense? A thresher shark was once found off the coast of Libya in April 2020 with a large piece of sword stuck in its belly. And when I say big, I mean the piece was nearly 12 inches long. No one performed an autopsy on the shark, but it's possible that the sword could have damaged its internal organs as well. It's worth noting that thresher sharks pose no threat to swordfish. Then why would they attack them? Did the thresher shark provoke the attack? Was the swordfish defending its territory or prey? Or maybe it just mistook this shark for some other more dangerous species and attacked first. By the way, swordfish are quite capable of surviving an attack like this. For example, some billfish, close relatives of swordfish, have been seen with damaged swords but were generally in good physical shape. Whether swordfish are strong enough to fight off orcas is a different question. Orcas are probably the most cunning and organized predators on the planet. Extremely nimble, they hunt in groups and attack their prey with great speed. Moreover, orcas can adapt their behavior strategy depending on the prey. However, I've already mentioned this many times in previous videos. Orcas are quite capable of hunting sperm whales, although sperm whales aren't exactly easy defenseless prey. Adult males grow up to 52 feet long and weigh about 50 tons. This sounds like a lot of food for orcas, but this food will fight back. To survive an attack by predators, and don't forget that orcas hunt in groups, sperm whales draw in a protective formation around calves that are too young to fend off such formidable predators on their own. To further confuse their attackers, adult sperm whales can make loud noises, and don't forget about their powerful tails, which in fact serve as a decent weapon. The sperm whale's huge tail poses a danger to any predators. A sperm whale tail crashing down on an orca would be a potentially life-threatening experience. But this is not a problem only orcas face. Divers who dive with whales are also wary of sperm whales. Their tails believed to be so powerful and strong that a single blow can easily decapitate a person. I don't want to think where and how we got this knowledge. However, in some cases, if all else fails, one or more adult males can fight back against orcas by ramming them. And something tells me that this is very risky, because such a move leaves the calves unprotected. But you know what's particularly interesting? Even an apex predator like an orca can sometimes deliberately avoid its potential prey. But not because the predator isn't hungry. Not long ago, researchers in Iceland observed a group of orcas swimming and communicating with each other without a care in the world. Suddenly, the animals went silent. The sudden change in behavior was caused by the pilot whales which showed up nearby. A little later, orcas swam away as quickly as possible to avoid a possible conflict. You have to admit, this is not the behavior you'd expect from orcas. It's unlikely that these species are competing for prey. Orcas living in Iceland eat herring, and pilot whales eat squid, so they wouldn't need to compete for food sources. So how come they're fighting? And moreover, why do pilot whales target orcas? That is, many animals attack predators to rob them of the element of surprise, but Icelandic orcas don't eat pilot whales. Apparently, the pilot whales just aren't aware of that, so they attack first just in case. Pilot whales consider orcas a threat and react accordingly, leading to clashes between species. Steve's even found several reports of pilot whales attacking orcas from behind. This only supports the theory that pilot whales stay on guard and attack even when no one is going to threaten them. By the way, orcas aren't the only ones who are wary of pilot whales. Sperm whales are not fond of them either. While there's no evidence that pilot whales pose an actual threat to sperm whales, maybe they do have a reason to be scared. In August 2016, a group of about 40 pilot whales aggressively attacked a young, weakened humpback whale. The poor animal sought shelter under the hull of a boat. Of course, there's also evidence of perfectly normal, peaceful interactions between the two species, but this incident outlined the potential danger posed by these enigmatic creatures. Why enigmatic, you may ask? Well, how much do you actually know about them? For some reason, people don't talk as much about pilot whales as they do about orcas. Meanwhile, pilot whales are some of the fastest predators in the world, capable of traveling at 20 miles per hour. There's a reason they're called cheetahs of the deep sea. Well, actual cheetahs are much faster, but they can't keep it up for a long time and have to rest after their sprints. Pilot whales don't have this problem. Groups of pilot whales are larger than those of orcas, and sometimes can even reach 100 or more individuals. With such numbers, it's hardly surprising that they dare challenge even orcas. And while orcas usually leave the area if they hear pilot whales around, pilot whales, on the contrary, aren't afraid of orcas' calls. A 2012 study found that pilot whales are indeed not scared of orca calls, rather, they're attracted to them. Perhaps this is what provokes pilot whales to come and attack. Well, how could they just let those noisy orcas be? And considering all these facts, should we expect that in 10 to 20 years the balance of power will shift and orcas will be dethroned and pilot whales will end up at the top of the food chain? They're smart, fast, numerous. It's possible. We'll have to talk about this again in the future. The ocean, as you've already realized, is a dangerous, unpredictable place where anything can happen. Take, for example, a great white shark, a well-known fearsome predator that can cause phobias. But even this bloodthirsty monster sometimes overestimates itself and bites more than it can chew. This is what happened to the shark, which decided to chomp down on a sea turtle, but ended up simply choking to death. This story was first told on the radio on April 19, 2021, when a great white shark was reported swimming around with a large sea turtle in its mouth. However, the next day, the shark was found dead. It got entangled in the net, failing to get rid of the turtle in its mouth. The reason for the shark's death soon became obvious. Once the prey gets stuck in its throat, there's almost zero chance for the shark to survive. The thing is, great white sharks are physically unable to spit in order to get rid of an object stuck in their mouths. Evolution has not given them hands either. Also, great white sharks have to swim all the time just to breathe. Their jaws have to be open to allow the oxygen-rich seawater to flow through their gills. This means that any foreign object, such as that sea turtle, becomes lethal for the shark. Unable to get it out, sharks slowly choke to death. And yes, the turtle from this story also died. This is not a tragic coincidence. Sea turtles are actually well aware that a shark attack could be lethal for them. Therefore, when a great white shark is close by, their turtles turn their backs to the shark and swim sort of sideways. It's very difficult for the shark to grab its prey while it's in this position. This sideways turning trick is usually enough to deter great white sharks from eating sea turtles. The only successful strategy for the predator is to eat the turtle when it's distracted and doesn't see the shark for some reason. But even then, as you've already realized, the shark could end up hungry or even dead. It's not only turtles that can get stuck in a shark's throat and kill a predator. A few years ago on the coast of the Maldives, an incredible incident happened. A lemon shark was found with a large porcupine fish in its mouth. Well, you know what these fish do, right? When they sense danger, they quickly fill their stomachs with water, inflating their bodies several times their original size. Naturally, when you're a shark which accidentally swallows a porcupine fish, you're in trouble. And even the special skill of lemon sharks is no help here. Although this species, unlike great white sharks, is capable of vomiting out undigested objects or excess food that can't be swallowed. Their stomach essentially gets expelled from the mouth and then goes back inside again. Except that this trick didn't work on a porcupine fish. When the shark tried to spit out the fish, the backward-pointing barbs dug in deeper, making the prey even more lodged inside the shark. The outcome is sad and quite predictable. The body of the porcupine fish blocked the airflow through the gill chamber, and the shark simply suffocated. Well, let's leave the sea creatures alone and head out on land, because there are plenty of unexpected interactions between predators and prey there too. In March 2014, an incredible encounter between a young golden eagle and a porcupine was captured by a motion-sensing camera in a forest near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. When the camera snapped the bird again a little more than a week later, it turned out that the golden eagle had 4 quills sticking out of its eyes and mouth. This seemingly strange encounter is not as unusual as it may seem. Scientists know that golden eagles and porcupines interact more often than previously thought. Although porcupines are well known for their defensive skills, golden eagles are versatile predators that prey on every creature from rabbits to deer. But if these birds have such a diverse menu, why would they risk their lives to attack a porcupine? Well, the golden eagle from the story was very young, less than a year old, and when you're young, you still don't quite know what you should eat and what you should stay away from. Alas, experts believe that the golden eagle most likely died later from an infection caused by its injuries. Natural selection is brutal. Porcupines are basically not the creatures one should hunt. Sure, sometimes predators just don't have a choice, but they have no idea who they're messing with. These rodents can hold their own against a horde of birds of prey. In a recent study, scientists analyzed 17 times birds attacked porcupines. Among the birds were golden eagles, a bald eagle, a peregrine falcon, several great horned owls, hawks, and 1 ruffed grouse. The results were astonishing. In 7 out of the 17 cases, the outcome was fatal, or nearly so, for the birds. For example, 1 severely injured great horned owl was put down. Ouch! But a ruffed grouse that had taken 8 quills to the breast managed to recover from its injuries. But how do these small creatures manage to fend off such formidable predators? The answer lies in their unique defense mechanism: barbed tips on the quills that wiggle as the muscles around them contract. This allows the quills to pierce ever deeper into those poor creatures that were unlucky to encounter a porcupine. So any bird trying to attack a porcupine, even if the bird is large, will be suffering as a result. Though actually, we've told many times how animals, even large ones, suffered from porcupines. Lions, leopards, dogs, golden eagles, and bald eagles are part of the club too now? Are porcupines invulnerable? Is there anyone who can handle them? Well, there's at least one species that hunts porcupines and does it really successfully. Meet the fisher, a predatory mammal of the mustelids family. I mean, porcupines have enough predators who hunt them, including foxes, coyotes, bears, and bobcats, but it seems like the fisher is uniquely adapted to hunt porcupines. While other predators have to strike from above, fishers are about the same height as porcupines and can attack them face to face, so to speak. The unique body shape of the fisher also gives it an advantage when hunting porcupines. The predator stays low to the ground, and it's very fast and very agile. Also, the fisher knows where to strike. The face is the only unprotected portion of the porcupine except for its belly, but the belly's much harder to reach. Meanwhile, a well-timed strike to the face can injure the porcupine and bring the fisher close to victory. An attack can last up to half an hour before the predator inflicts a lethal bite. Fishers have also developed special strategies that allow them to get to their prey even when porcupines are in the trees. Using their dexterity and quick reflexes, fishers can force their prey to the ground or otherwise make it descend from the tree, where it's much easier to hunt. Finally, fishers have another advantage over other predators when it comes to hunting porcupines. These animals are very resistant to infection if they're wounded by quills. So even if one hunt wasn't too good, the fisher will try again, and it'll get what it wants eventually. I suddenly realized I mixed up the pages of the script. I still got some bits to say about sea animals. so let's get back to them. Dolphins are some of the most beloved and perhaps most popular sea creatures among humans. They're agile, intelligent, friendly. But when it comes to self-defense, dolphins also have a powerful technique at their disposal: ramming. Dolphins were repeatedly seen ramming sharks. This is how they defended themselves from an attack or scared off those who threatened them and their offspring. Large sharks are known to prey on dolphins, especially young ones and sick adults, as they're the weakest and most vulnerable members of the pod. Researchers have even estimated that in Florida, 1/3 of the dolphins have scars from shark bites. But you can fend off even such formidable predators if you're a dolphin and know what to do. Dolphin charges at the shark, bending its body so that its face hits the soft underbelly or gills of the predator at the right angle, causing serious injuries. In some cases, it can even kill the shark. Well, if dolphins can protect themselves and their calves from sharks, why don't they start helping humans? In fact, the myth about dolphins saving people from bloodthirsty sea predators has been around for centuries. It's believed that if a swimming human encounters a dolphin, it's safe to swim in this area as long as the dolphin is there to keep all the dangers away. There are quite a few rescue stories like that, and it seems that dolphins are really willing to protect people. However, real life, as usual, is very different from the myths. Hundreds of millions of people swim in the oceans every year, and many of them have been around sharks without any incident. Moreover, I'm certain that many of these people have no idea there was a shark nearby. Yes, there's information about shark attacks every year, but statistically speaking, these cases are very rare. On average, there are around 80 shark attacks a year. Also, sharks don't usually attack people just because they notice them. A drop of blood in the water won't attract them either. In short, there must be a real reason for the shark to act aggressively. For example, a shark could mistake a person in a diving suit for a seal or get anxious for some reason. Overall, it's more like an exception to the rule. So if there's a shark swimming nearby, it doesn't mean it'll attack someone. As for dolphins, they aren't natural enemies of the sharks. These guys often coexist peacefully in the same waters and even eat similar food, such as fish and squid. There are times when dolphins feel threatened by sharks, but that doesn't mean they always try to keep them away from people or other animals. In general, I'd call dolphins and sharks neighbors who aren't on the best terms. But overall, they usually just ignore each other. So a dolphin protecting a human is a possible scenario, yet still quite rare, especially when you consider the number of shark attacks when humans need to be protected in the first place. And now it's time for pigs. Most people think of them as stupid, dirty, and clumsy creatures, but that's a misconception. Pigs are actually very brave animals that have been known to fight off predators if they feel threatened, even when that threat comes from a bear. A good example is the black bear spotted by the house in Connecticut, apparently intending to have a snack. But the pigs clearly weren't happy about that, and their confrontation was captured on a surveillance camera. The bear didn't really expect to be attacked by pigs, and he decided he wasn't that interested in them anyway. At first, the predator just backed away and then fled in terror. Wild relatives of pigs are just as bold. In northwest Poland, a desperate boar was captured on camera, sending a whole pack of wolves scattering. The wolves that tried to surround and eat it. It's amazing that animals like pigs are even capable of something like this. But if you look at what pigs can do, especially wild ones, it becomes clear that these animals aren't as simple as they seem at first glance. For example, they're capable of running faster than Usain Bolt. Their lower tusks are usually so sharp they serve as an excellent weapon, and it doesn't really matter against whom. A male rival or some unlucky predator. Don't forget about very strong jaws which can easily crack the shells of nuts. Not cool enough? How about the fact that boars enjoy hunting smaller animals and scavenging carrion, easily breaking bones and eating the entire carcass whole? Yes, boars prefer to use an avoidance strategy if they feel threatened. However, they can become very aggressive when frightened or cornered. And this is where I'd recommend anyone, whether it's a human or a bear, to stay away from the boar. Because humans aren't safe from pigs too. Moreover, it was pigs who were responsible for the death of King Philip of France. Well, to an extent. As the king was riding with a group of companions along the Seine, his horse tripped over a black pig that suddenly rushed under its hooves. The horse fell. The young king was catapulted over its head. As a result, Philip's limbs were fractured to such an extent that he died the next day without regaining consciousness. so be careful around pigs and horses. You should also be careful around rats, especially if you're a crow. Crows are known as persistent predators and scavengers, attacking small animals that look like their potential snack. Rats and mice are unfortunately on their menu, but sometimes things don't go according to the plan. A city rat in Nottingham was destined to become prey to a crow which grabbed its tail. The rodent seemed doomed, but time after time it broke free and launched a counterattack. The bird would retreat, and then it started all over again. Actually, rats are dangerous to many birds. Dangerous enough to wipe out entire bird populations. This is what happened on South Georgia Island. Ever since rats landed here in the 19th century aboard whaling ships, the situation has been disastrous. Well, or very, very bad. Over a couple of centuries, rats managed to wipe out almost 99% of the native bird population because they preyed on the adults and ate the eggs. Eventually, people had to launch an entire rat eradication campaign to do something about this situation. 10 years ago, it cost them $9 million. Sharks, orcas, birds of prey. The one animal I really didn't expect to be vulnerable to its prey was the polar bear. The largest land predator, strong and ferocious. It can eat anyone it wants. Polar bears easily take out even walruses. Well, that's not always the case. Turns out it depends on the certain animal. An adult male walrus can match most polar bears in size and strength. The tusks of these animals are especially dangerous, so a polar bear will not attack a walrus unless it's hungry, as the long tusks of the walrus can wound or even kill it. Perhaps this is why bears have to use tools. The Inuit, yes, the guys who told scientists about narwhals, claim that polar bears sometimes throw rocks and pieces of ice at unsuspecting walruses to stun them before attacking. At first, scientists doubted this, but recently they've concluded that it does happen, albeit quite rarely. Think about it because it makes sense. If you stun an animal with a rock, you can avoid being stabbed by sharp tusks when you try to kill it. Moreover, walruses have very tough skulls, so even the strongest polar bear finds it difficult to bite into it and kill its prey. But a stone or a chunk of ice can do the trick. The only thing left is to make a couple of strong bites. Steve found another crazy, unexpected example of interaction between prey and predator. On the night of March 7, 2019, a fox made a mistake climbing into a chicken coop in France. Unfortunately for the predator, the fox was met by an angry gang of 6,000 chickens who were in no mood to be messed around. Most likely, herd instinct kicked in as the fox tried to make its way through the coop. Well, maybe the birds were just quite fed up with foxes, or they didn't like being woken up in the middle of the night. Whatever the reason may be, the chickens ganged up on the fox and eventually pecked the predator to death. Chickens pecked the fox to death. However, experts believe that this particular fox was young and inexperienced, or perhaps sick and weak, which explains why it failed to scare off the gang of chickens. Chickens aren't particularly friendly, though. They might as well attack pigeon chicks or break pigeon eggs thinking they're easy prey. Why? Well, because they're delicious. Now look at this bird. The Australian raven is a large and fierce creature. If I were a smaller bird, I would have never got close to an Australian raven, but it seems like woolly wagtails have no sense of self-preservation. I have no other explanation why this little clump of feathers with a funny habit to wag its tail deliberately attacks an Australian raven. Well, it might not be aware of the risks, but it's still persistent. Apparently, the willy wagtail was defending its territory from another bird, which was not welcome here, and the size of the intruder didn't matter at all. The willy wagtail annoyed its enemy so much that the raven preferred to fly away in search of a quieter place. Overall, it's better to attack such large birds in a crowd, and the smaller birds realize that. You've probably seen a group of small birds pointlessly but very persistently attacking someone huge. This behavior is called mobbing and is usually defined as a cooperative strategy that prey uses to drive away a potential predator. And there's something very heroic about these struggles. But a new study suggests that not all of these little birds can be called heroes. Some just want to impress the ladies. Is there a better way to prove the quality of your DNA to the ladies than finding a scary predator and screaming in its face? So scientists presented wild male birds with stuffed owl models of two species. One that fed on these birds and one that never had them on its menu. Which one did the males attack most fiercely? Yep, the one predator that posed no danger to them at all. Why risk lives if the ladies are going to be impressed anyway? See you later.